Hello, hello, hello. Happy Monday, y'all. And welcome to Faith, Purpose, Profit, what I like to call FPP Live, a time we connect all things faith with purpose and profit. Yes, you need all three if you're going to live as the highest and best version of who God created you to be. And if you're going to live your life, living out your assignment. So as you're coming in, tell me hello, tell me name and where you're joining from. If you have questions while I'm live, I want you to post them. I do look at them while I teach. So I come here every week to pour all that I can into you. And I'll be honest with you, 9 times out of 10, God is teaching this stuff to me for me. Hey, my Renata. And then he tells me to teach it. So when I'm studying it, I study even deeper in these segments to give you insight that'll move your purpose into profit now. So we're continuing in a 6-part series. Today is part 5. The series is called Why Business is Important to God. And whether you realize it or not, your business and or your career, what you do in this world is important to God because it's the way he created and wired you to do the thing that he put you on this earth to do. So to do a quick review, in part 1, we talked about God created us to work. We looked at creation. Hey, Yolanda. We looked at creation. Excuse me. By the way, I'm going to cough. I'm going to try not to, but my allergies are kicking my butt today. And I took my medicine. So anyway, part 1, we talked about creation and why God created each of us to work. Then in part 2, I talked about God making us in his image and really looking at how it is a relay, how God tosses it to us. And it's really about our ability to then toss it to all those that we are created to serve in the way we do it. So that was part 2. Part 3, we looked at moving in our image and how to activate it, which is all about abiding and following directions. And I'm doing a quick review, y'all, right? Then we did a interlude. Y'all remember those interludes we used to have in music? By the way, I love music, so I'm always going to have some music reference somewhere. Hey, y'all, see more people are joining. So our interlude was God gifted us with free will. He will not make us do it, no matter how hard or how much he desires it for us. It's up to you and me to do it. And then last week, we talked about God wants you to be rich. As I talked to you about being fruitful and multiplying, which I told you and shared with you my mandate, which is Genesis 1:28. If you missed any of those parts, I'm not going to go through them in detail. I'm going to encourage you to go and listen to past episodes if you've missed any. Again, this series started with the episode that is called Why Business is Important to God. Tonight, we are in part 5 of this 6-part series. So again, if you missed any of it, go back and watch it on our podcast. Our podcast is fpppodcast.com. Again, that's fpppodcast.com. And the reason I'm sharing that with you is if you've been in my camp, you already know how I teach. I build on the next. And so if something's not making sense, if it sounds disconnected, it's because you probably missed an episode. So I'm going to encourage you to go back and listen. Okay. So our conversation is your business equals a masterpiece in the making. Now, as I was looking at, and I was trying to figure out what to call this conversation, it really is the continuation. I want you to get this. God gives you purpose. He makes you in his image. He asks you to abide. All those things have to do with the masterpiece that you were created to be. And it's up to you to create it. It's like if you've ever gone to an art class, when you get there, they give you the canvas, they give you the paint, they give you the paintbrush, and then it's up to you to create it. So in the same vein, when you look at a Mona Lisa, yeah, it was created once. All the replicas after that, that's a whole nother conversation. If any of you have ever been to Paris and been to the Palace of Versailles, and I'm gonna tell you guys, when I went, and I was gonna say the first time, but I've only been once. So when I went, the one time I went, I was amazed at the intricacies of how they built mirrored walls back then when there was no such thing as a mirror. Or even if you think about the pyramids, which I have not yet to go see in Egypt, or if you've been to any, like I went to the Mayan ruins and I look at how high those ruins are, and I'm amazed at how did they get up that high when they didn't have a ladder? So I'm sharing that with you because I want you to understand. God gave you the paintbrush, he gave you the canvas, he gave you the paint, and then he's like, you go do it. And the same way, he gave someone a gift to figure out that pyramid and how to build it, to build the Versailles, to paint the Mona Lisa. Y'all with me? So listen, you are a work of art. Now, as I started thinking about this deeper and deeper, y'all know I love music. So then I started thinking of this song. Now, Don't Make Me Feel Old by Atlantic Star called Masterpiece. Now, the whole song doesn't have to do with this, but I'm going to play just the chorus quick because, I will get shut down because I don't have copyright. But I want you to listen to just the words of the chorus. And of course, my iPad went down on me. Hold on. I want you to just hear the words of the chorus of the song. Okay, take a listen. I found a masterpiece in you. The work of art is true, and I treasure you, my love. So imagine if God was saying this to you. I found a masterpiece in you. The work of art is true, and I treasure you. So God, He didn't find the masterpiece in you. He placed the masterpiece in you. The work of art is true, and He treasures you. So imagine God saying those words to you. I put a masterpiece in you. Instead of I put it in there. I didn't find it. I put it there. The work of art is true, and I treasure you. So that's really our conversation for this episode. And I want to take it into a Bible verse. Always give us a Bible verse that is kind of our covering, our framework, our mission for each conversation. And for this one, it's Psalms 139, 13 through 14. Now, this is one that so many of us quote. If you've never quoted it, you've heard it. And it's 14 you've heard, but I'm going to read 13 first. For you formed my inward parts. You covered me in my mother's womb. Here's what we always say. I will praise you, for I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. Now, I want you to understand and really listen to these words. I'm going to read it one more time. For you formed my inward parts. He's not talking about outside. He's talking about my heart, my soul, your inward parts. You covered me in my mother's womb. So before you were even born, God put that masterpiece in you. I will praise you, for I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. God didn't make a mistake. He didn't make junk. He didn't change his mind. He was intentional when he created you. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. Now, the reason I'm reading that again, that last part, my soul knows very well, is that whole conversation that we talked about, abide, in part 3 of this series. So what's so interesting is so many of us feel lost or disconnected from our purpose. We don't know it. We don't understand it. Can I tell you, it's been in you your entire life. But what happens in this thing called life is things people say to you that you should be, or people abuse you in some kind of way that make you forget who you are, or anything in between takes you off the game of you being that masterpiece. And so that is why I'm having this conversation with you on this episode, because I need you to understand you are a masterpiece, no matter what anybody has said to you, no matter what anybody's done to you, no matter if nobody else sees it. Because you weren't put on this earth to serve everybody. So that masterpiece in you was created to be the answer to the people that need you and only you. When you do the thing that God placed in you to do. Now, y'all know I looked up this Bible verse and my favorite thing, my Tony Evans study Bible, my commentary, right? So here's what it says under Psalms. Trying not to hit my microphone. Psalms 139, 13 through 14. I'm only reading around. I'm not reading all of it. It says, we are not here by chance. Now, Psalms was written by David, by the way. So David affirms that God had not only created him, but he actually knit him together in his mother's womb. Think about knitting together, y'all. Think about how intentional those words are right there. Knitting together. You too are a work of art that God put together by hand. You have been remarkably and wonderfully made. No matter the circumstance surrounding your conception, no matter your ethnicity or your gender, your existence is intentional. You are not a mistake, for God makes no mistakes. You are created in the image of God with purpose and meaning. This truth is to be the foundation of a person's self-worth and self-esteem. But again, things happen in this life that take away or dissipate your self-esteem. And so tonight, I'm going to walk you through 3 things you must do to own the masterpiece in you. Because again, God has given you everything that he can give to you But it's up to you to write the masterpiece. It's up to you to create the masterpiece. It's up to you to activate it. And I know we have this purpose conversation a lot, but I think so many people look at purpose so surfacely, but we don't dig deep enough to understand that there are things intrinsic to who you be that have been there all along, that for many of you are lying dormant. And I can say this for me, because when I started my career, I worked in entertainment and production and casting. When God started calling me out to bigger work, I didn't realize I was going to be in production and casting again, but not on that same level. God's always going to expand your territory and want you to expand how you use your gift, which means you got to grow who you be to use it in a different way. So I'm going to walk you through three things in this series. I'm going to walk you through the first two here in part one, and then part two, we'll walk through three, because three is I got to unpack all by itself. Okay. So the first one is you got to know your worth and you got to own it. Now, I think I said this last episode, many of us are walking around like we're a Capri or a Toyota. And I'm talking about a broke down, probably 1978 Toyota, when you are a 2022 Bentley. So you don't know your worth. So you discount it. You give it away. You overlook it. You say things like, can't everybody do this? No. Well, there are other people that do what you do, but nobody does it like you. And until you own it and you get clear on it, you will walk around discounting the masterpiece. Matter of fact, you won't be able to create it or grow it. So if I'm going to give this context, my other foundational Bible verse for everything I teach, one is Genesis 1:28, be fruitful, multiply, have dominion. And I've walked through that, pieces of it here in our series. I'm going to walk through the second of my foundational Bible verses to everything I teach. Now, those of you that have been around me, you know what I'm getting ready to say. Let your light so shine among men and women that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. That's Matthew 5:16. But here's a deep part, y'all. I'm getting ready to read to you 14, 15, and 16. So you see the context by which that is said. And I want you to understand this, even in the context of you being the masterpiece that is you. Okay. Okay, so here we are. Matthew 5:14 through 16 says, you are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Okay, so let's peel this back a little bit. So you are the light of the world. Now, I want you to understand. God has given you a place, an arena to have dominion in. I talked about that in episode 1. I'm not going to dig into that, but that's what I'm specifically talking about. There is light in you. We can talk about light in a minute, but I want you to understand this in the context of this masterpiece and why it matters to God and to all the people that are assigned to you. Okay. A city that's set on a hill. So I need you to understand it. And you got to peel back kind of what this Bible, when you're reading Bible verses, you got to peel back, the time it was written, who's talking, what are they talking about? So if you are set on a hill and God has given you an arena to dominate in, when you allow people to see you, you get that? But what happens is many of us are hidden, because then it goes into saying, nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket. So it talks about a hill. A city set on a hill can't be hidden. And then if you put a lamp on a lampshade, so it's like, what does that have to do with each other? But if you really think about what they're trying to say here, is that you've got to stop discounting who you are, and you got to allow that brilliance in you to shine. For years, people told me, ooh, Nicole, you're a lot. And I am a lot. Probably for some people, but those of you that are watching me, I'm not a lot for you. Some people, y'all will probably think I'm funny and whatever you might think. And some people may think I'm a lot. When you think I'm a lot or too much, that means I'm not assigned to you. It doesn't mean that I need to dim my light because you can't handle my brilliance. Even men I dated. I was talking to one of my clients about this morning. Well, actually, one of my corporate clients about this morning. For many years, and I was dating before my husband. This does not apply to my husband. Men would fight me because my weekends are spent speaking somewhere. I'm clear. That's what I'm called to do. I'm not going to discount that to be in a relationship. Come on, somebody. And so when I first started dating my husband, on my first date, I said, let me just tell you right now, This is what I do on the weekend. I broke. He said at first he was like, because I went all the way in. Listen, I'm not going to fight you about this. Let me put it on the table. If that's a problem for you, we don't. This could be our last date. He said he was like, and like, okay, at the same time. But what I had to stop doing was compromising who I am to be in a relationship. That is not dictating the masterpiece that's in me. I had to stop minimizing who I was to be in my business. I had to stop minimizing who I was to stand on stage as a speaker. I had to stop being shy about the things that have happened to me, the things I've gone through. Everything has made me better. There's no mistake with God. So the good things and the bad things all work together for your good. Isn't that Bible verse? All things work together, not a few things, not some things. Now, it doesn't always feel good, but God will use it if you allow him to. And that becomes a part of your masterpiece. Y'all with me? So here's what I want you to really think about. As I talked about, let your light so shine. Do you realize that the first word that God spoke out of his mouth was, let there be light? At least that's what it says in Genesis 1:3. Let there be light. See, everything grows because of light. So I really want you to think about this, okay? Light is a power source. Light is a power source, okay? So power means in the dictionary a ability to act or produce an effect, capacity or being acted upon or undergoing an effect, a source or a means of supplying energy. So that energy in you, the energy you give to your gift or you don't give to your gift, will speak to the power that works in you or it will dissipate the power. So one of the Bible verses we all know so well is Ephesians 3:20. Now to him who's able to do exceedingly abundantly above all we ask or think. Now get this, the last sentence, according to the power that works in us. That power is your light. According to the power that works in us. Now listen, this is according to the power. God gave you free will, so it's up to you to up level and increase your power. Power is energy. So if I'm going to plug my cell phone in at night so that it can charge, it's the same way that you power up your gift. It creates more energy. It grows it. You power it up by abiding and getting to know God. You power it up by listen, by hiring coaches, by going through workshops, by training. Every time you expand your gift and grow it, you are increasing that power source. And I think it's so deep. As I was listening to a sermon, and the sermon had nothing to do with what I'm talking about right now, but the preacher said one word. He said enlightened, and it got me to thinking, and I looked up the word enlightened. Listen. See, God does everything he does to enlighten us. That's that energy he's trying to put into our power. Y'all with me? So enlighten means, where is it? To furnish knowledge to instruct, to give spiritual insight to. See, God wants to enlighten us so that our light can grow. But what happens in this thing called life, again, I'm going to say it again, the family you grow up in, I talked about this last time. We talked about being rich and being fruitful and multiplying, that bankroll zip code. So I'm from South Central LA. There's no way I should have a master's degree, let alone an honorary doctorate degree, let alone be the CEO of a multiple six-figure company. There's no way I should have 8 people on my team. No. According to my neighborhood, I should have met a man with money and let him take care of me. That's the lessons that I learned in my neighborhood. I had to dissipate the power and energy that was being placed on me, and I had to make new choices and fight through it. Many of you, the reason why your businesses are growing, the reason why you're not growing is because you're settling for what you've been through, for what people have said to you, for what people have done to you. You're settling for that. And that is not the masterpiece God put in you. That's the enemy trying to dim your light. Come on, somebody. Y'all need to get this. Okay. So in addition to that, I thought I found another light Bible verse, but you got to look at what's growing you and what's taking away. Because even money is energy. Money is not listen, money is energy. So if you're putting your energy in the right things, energy comes back to you. Are y'all getting me? So when you look at how you own and grow your gift, you've got to begin to understand that you are a unique design. Listen, if you're doing the same thing that somebody else is doing, one of us isn't necessary. So God gives you free will to exercise the power to grow that light So you get to choose to grow it. So listen, I looked this up and I was having a whole conversation with my husband. I had to write this stuff down. My husband is a scientist. Those of you that don't know, he's a physicist. He has a PhD in physics. Okay, let me just. So some of this is I was writing as fast as I could listen to him being all excited about science and light. You can probably hear me, so he's gonna correct me probably out loud. So just like light, I want you to get light grows. So sun provides heat. So sun was original light. Y'all get that right? When God said let there be light, he made the sun, the moon, the stars, okay? So sun provides heat. Heat then turns into fire. Y'all with me? Fire is what we use to cook, to heat our houses, to produce steam used in railroad engines and all kind of things. Just think about all the things you do with fire. Even dare I say, you have to take a lump of coal and burn it for it to become a diamond. Think about all the things you do with fire. That fire started with light, but it's when you grow the capacity of that light. And that's the same thing we've got to do with the masterpiece that's in us. Listen, even if I take it a step further, fire, if it's mixed with hot gases, becomes flames that then become gas that can be put in our car. I can go on and on and on. So what we don't stop and realize is one little piece of light, what it does. And so you've got to realize that God made you so special, so unique. He made you perfectly imperfect. He knew exactly what he was doing when he gifted you. The question is, do you know it? Do you spend the time to grow it and understand it? And then once you grow it and understand, the second thing you've got to do is take your place. Now, what's interesting is when I was thinking about what I'm going to talk about here, what kept coming in my mind was this scene from a Tyler Perry movie. So I found it. So I'm going to play this scene for you really quickly, and then I'm going to walk you through what I mean by taking your place, because you've got to take it. Okay. So let me play this quickly. It's real quick, but this is your mission statement right here.
Take your place. Now. Starting now.
You guys remember that? If you didn't see, I think it's Medea's family reunion, Cicely Tyson called all the kids over. Kids were gyrating at the barbecue and doing and playing craps, and what they didn't realize is the power in who they are. And many of you are walking around and not even realizing again that you are a Bentley. You're walking around like a broke down Capri. That's on sale, and the Bentley doesn't go on sale. So I'm walking around as a Bentley, and I don't care if nobody else can't stand it. I listen. This is who God created me to be. You have a problem with it, you go take that up with God. I'm gonna be all of me. So to talk about you taking your place, I want to read to you a passage that Paul wrote to the church. This is 1 Corinthians 12, 12 through 17. Now, I'm going to read, it's a long passage, so I'm going to encourage you to go read all of it. It's 12 through 27. I'm not going to read all of it because it's long, but I'm really going to read some pieces so you really understand the context, okay? Now, the body is not made up of one part, but of many. If the foot should say, because I'm not a hand, I don't belong to the body, it would not for that reason cease to be part of the body. And if the ear should say, because I'm not an eye, I don't belong with the body, it would not for that reason cease to be part of the body. If the whole body were an eye, where would the sense of hearing be? If the whole body were an ear, where would the sense of smell be? The eye cannot say to the hand, I don't need you, and the head cannot say to the feet, I don't need you. On the contrary, those parts of the body that seem to be weaker and indispensable, and the parts that we think are less honorable, and it goes on about that. But let me skip around to this. So that there should be no division in the body, but that its parts should have equal concern for each other. Y'all with me? If one part suffers, every part suffers with it. If one part is honored, every part rejoices with it. Now you are the body of Christ, and each one of you is a part of it. The thing I think is interesting is all of us, when we're functioning in the thing that we're called to do, we're all parts of the body of Christ. That's the kingdom. See, if we all stood long enough and took our place, the way that the world would shift and grow and be blessed by all of us. That's why the enemy tries to steal, kill, and destroy your gift. That's why he tries to steal, kill, and destroy your purpose. That's why he makes you second guess yourself. That's why he sends people in your path to make you play small. I go on and on. I want you to think about all the things that have happened to you that make you forget who you are, that make you play smaller than you know you're meant to play. And I know that because you're here with me listening, whether you're here live or you're watching a replay. See, every one of us has a special contribution to make. No part is too small because the ear can't say to the eye, listen, I don't need you. Because then if the ear was gone, we wouldn't be able to hear. If the eye was gone, we wouldn't be able to see. If our legs were gone, we wouldn't be able to walk. Listen, even on my hand, if my thumb was gone, how could I pick stuff up? I'd have to learn, of course. But I want you to get everything has its function. Like each of us have ours. And that is why this conversation is so important. So here's the homework I want to give you. Because listen, I want you to get this. I really want you to get this. God is really the chief diversity and inclusion officer. What I mean by that is you guys know this whole big D&I conversation that happens now, especially in the workplace, diversity and inclusion. See, God didn't want us to all be the same. He could have decided that he wanted us all to be the same, but he didn't use a cookie cutter. He didn't use a vending machine. He didn't use an assembly line when he made us. It says, I will praise you and fearfully, because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, right? For you formed my inward parts. You covered me in my mother's womb. You formed my inward parts. He took his time to create you. And so I really want you to understand, in order for you to be the masterpiece, there's a third part to play. But before we talk about the third piece, and we'll talk about that on part 2, which we'll do, and I'll tell you where. Even if we look at Adam and Eve, when God created Eve, he made Eve totally different from Adam, and she had a different function to play. And of course, Eve did some things and mess up some stuff. I'm not talking about that because that's that free will. But what I am talking about is that all of us are going to be different. No two of us will be alike. There's certain things like, when you grow up with people like, my husband is a twin. He and his twin brother do things that are just alike, but there's a whole lot of things they do that are not alike at all. So you'll not find two people that are exactly alike. Even if they're identical twins, there'll be some things that are different about both of them. So I need you to understand what's different about you. What makes you stand out? What's unique about you? How do you stand out in the arena that God created you to dwell in? How are you a masterpiece in the making? And how do you choose to create and grow that gift in you? If you have problems or challenges with this, I want to encourage you to go back and watch the other pieces to the series because it will bless you and help you move it forward. And then as we end our series next week, I'm going to give you the ammunition of why all of this has been so important. But even before we move into that, I'm going to invite you into part 2. But before we move into part 2, I want you to really, really think about this. Listen, there's a quote by Brian Tracy that says, make your life a masterpiece. Imagine no limitations on what you can be, have, or do. So if there were no limitations, none, who would you be? Don't make it a material desire. Don't make it based on things you can acquire. I want you to make a dream, a decision on based on who you would be. Who would you serve and how would you serve them? How would you give God back a return on his investment inside of you? How would you take all the pieces that are already inside you and create the masterpiece this world is waiting for? That's what I want you to think about as we wait, as we finish part 1 and move into part 2. Those of you that know, we do part 2 tomorrow morning in Clubhouse. There are 3 steps you need. The third step is a conversation in and of itself. So I'm going to break that down for you tomorrow during our Clubhouse. I want to invite you 8:30 a.m. EST. So listen, number 1, I want you to tell me the one thing you got valuable out of our conversation tonight. Hey, Rosalind and Etta and Kim, welcome, welcome. Tell us the one thing you got valuable. Second, if indeed you got anything valuable, I want to encourage you and ask you to share. Share this. There's a button somewhere at the bottom, or if you're on YouTube, wherever you are, there's a share button. I want to encourage you to share because you never know who needs the insight that we share in these episodes. We're going to continue to talk about the fact that you are a masterpiece in the making. The reason why I said in the making is because you're not done yet. Oh, there's so much more work. Listen, I'm not done yet. The minute I'm done, I'll be called to be with Jesus. I'm not ready for that yet, but if he's ready to call me home, I'll go home. And so that means that there's more work for us to do. There's more growth for us to do. There's more ownership of the gift inside of us. So what do you need to do next to own it? What do you need to do next to grow it? What do you need to let go of that's keeping you small? because God is going to let you live on whatever level you settle for. I don't want you to settle for less than God's best for you. I don't want you to settle for what happened to you yesterday because God has a breathtaking future waiting for you. All right. So with that said, I look forward to many of you joining me tomorrow morning. Again, that's fppbreakfast.com. Let me put it up one more time as we'll walk through the third area, which is the biggest area that I see many of us, me included, I had this problem and I still sometimes deal with it. But we'll dig into that tomorrow. So again, that's 8:30 a.m. EST in our Clubhouse. And by the way, if you're not on Clubhouse, all you have to do is go to fppbreakfast.com. It is an invitation for you to join Clubhouse. And then what I suggest you do is subscribe to our channel so you'll know when I go live. All right. So with that said, thank you for joining me for this episode. I'll see you in the morning for part 2. Bye, y'all.